Alright, today I'm going to be making a very simple soup. It is a potato and leek soup. A very classic peasant-style soup. Nothing fancy. It's very simple to make and could be made with whatever ingredients are at hand. In addition to my potatoes and leeks, I also have just a regular yellow onion, and then have some parsley as well, and a garlic clove. And these aren't part of the recipe per se, but make for a nice little finish, which I'll show you. This is the type of dish that is made all over in different variations, but I learned it from Jacques Pepin. It's definitely a go-to for me when it comes to classic recipes. I really enjoyed his various cooking shows too, back from the days when cooking shows were more chill and relaxing instead of hyped up dopamine fests like they are today, which can be fun too, but I always liked his style. But anyway, this is a very simple classic recipe. And alright, before we begin, let's prepare some ice water for the chef. Very nicely refreshing. Alright, let's get to cooking. Start, I'm just going to take the end off of this leek and this one as well. Now, another thing I learned from Jacques Pepin is a lot of people just cut off the leek greens because they can be pretty tough. But really you can just trim off the tough parts and retain more of the vegetable. The recipe, we have 2 potatoes, about 1.5 pounds, 1 onion. I would normally use 1 large leek or 2 small leeks. These are probably a little bit big, but I'm thinking they seem like they've got a lot of tough greens, so there isn't going to be as much usable. So I'm going to go ahead and go with 2. Just get some good leek flavor, plenty of it, which won't be a bad thing. Just going to go ahead and shear off some of these tougher leaves. So these outer ones are pretty tough. Got my bowl here ready to shift these over to compost. We're getting into the dirty part of the leek. Leeks are a dirty vegetable, dirty vegetable. But lo and behold, Mr. Pepin has also told me a way that I like for getting rid of this dirt. There's different ways to do it, but I switched over to this method. I found it to be probably the easiest. All right, so that's most of that tough outer green layer. We've got some leek left. But yeah, most of this was pretty tough, so we took most of that green portion of the leek. Let's clean this stuff out of my way here. I'm just going to trim off that little end bit too. And I'm going to set you aside. We're going to deal with cleaning that in one moment after I trim up this guy. Here's some of the larger leeks I've encountered in a while. Again, I'm just going to slice these tough green bits up. And we'll try to save any tender bits. We don't discard those unnecessarily. No need to waste, particularly these days. Okay, that's probably pretty good. Set you there as well. I'll just clear this stuff out of the way. Perfect. Right, so quite a bit of compostable material there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a slit through the leek and then rotating 90 degrees, do the same thing so we can really kind of open it up. And do the same on this other fella here. And what that's going to let us do is separate this so when we run it under some cold water, we will be able to wash away this dirt and have a nice clean leek for our preparation. So I'm going to rinse that now. All right, so those leeks are rinsed nice and clean. And now that they're sliced up this way, it's pretty easy to cut them into small portions like this, which we'll use for our soup. The other way, the way I used to do is slice them first and then put the leeks in a bowl of cold water. You can rinse them, the dirt sinks, and the leeks stay floating, so you can get them back out. But I like this method. I think it works pretty well. Right, let's slice this one as well. Out of my way. We can finish up slicing here. Have these guys. Okay. Oops. Didn't quite have a hold of those, did I? Cooking's a bit of an adventure sometimes. There's just spray leaks everywhere. But that's okay. Next up, we have this onion. Take off the top and bottom there. And go ahead and peel that. Perfect. Get a hold of the sky. There we go. And then just going to dice these up. Section. Take off this slippery outside here. Okay, that takes care of our onions. Now we have these potatoes. I'm using russets. Move my compost bowl here. These stray bits. And let's just go ahead and peel these potatoes. Okay, first potato. Section there. Okay, the potatoes are peeled, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut these into chunks. Just like that. Nothing fancy here. These are just going to boil in the soup. Everything is running away from me today. Okay, we have our potatoes ready to go. We have our leeks and onions. We can start cooking. All right, let's get the heat going. All right, now we're cooking with electric. I've got a Dutch oven here. A big soup pot would work. This is a Lodge enameled cast iron Dutch oven. Really fantastic. Le Creuset is, of course, fancy and wonderful, but for the price, this is hard to beat. I've had great luck with it. So we're going to get that heating. And let's get some olive oil in there. Like I said, this soup is incredibly simple. We're just going to saute our leeks and onion, add our potatoes and some stock, and boil that, and that is really all there is to it. Very easy to make and very rewarding, as it's very, very delicious. Simple, but very good. Alright, so let's get some heat into that oil so we can saute. Okay, our olive oil is getting hot, so let's add our leeks and onion. I have my trusty wooden spoon. Just gonna stir these around, get some oil distributed among them. And we're just gonna cook this for a few minutes, just to cook them down, mellow them out. Take them till they're just about starting to color. It smells very good. Definitely an abundance of leek here. One of those leeks probably would have been plenty, but I have no problems with this. wonderful smells of spring with the leeks. Such great color as well. Alright, those are starting to soften up. Looking good. Give it a couple more minutes here. The volume of onion here. Alright, we are just about ready here. Okay, this is looking good. Now we have basically the most complicated step in the recipe. So we're going to add the potatoes, stock, and salt and pepper all at once here. Let's get those potatoes in. And I've added 6 cups of stock. I would normally make this with a chicken stock. In this case, I'm making an entirely vegetarian version, so I've used a vegetable stock. It really even works if you use water, honestly. But the stock just adds that little extra bit of flavor. So we've got our potatoes and our stock. I'm going to turn up the heat to bring this to a boil. And we're going to add a teaspoon of salt and a nice amount of cracked black pepper. Okay, let's give that a stir. And all we're going to do is boil these potatoes. When this gets up to a boil, I'll let it cook for about half an hour. Just until those potatoes are tender. And that is about all there is to it. Talk a little bit about the finish as we get there. And it really doesn't need any extra attention because we're just cooking those potatoes. Just a little bit of foam. Not really a big deal. Skim that off a little bit. Alright, we've got some boiling happening here. Stir this up just a little. Alright, I'm going to turn this down a touch. It's not an insane boil. And we're just going to let this go for about 30 minutes. Alright, so while that soup is cooking, we are going to make basically a topping. You don't have to do this. This just adds this wonderful kind of bright pop of flavor to the soup, which is already delicious, but makes it feel really fresh and delicious. So all we're going to do is mince this garlic. There we go, just get that chopped up, ready to go. And then we're going to take this parsley, let's take the leaves off of here. It's totally fine to use the stems too. We'll just pull some leaves off. Okay, and then we're just going to chop these these up as well. Just like that. Jacques Pepin actually suggests this for a different soup, but I think it's really nice with this one. For the potato and leek, he generally recommends chervil, which I don't have, so we're substituting. And I like throwing the garlic in there. So we have this wonderful, fresh, bright topping that we will put on our soup. Okay, perfect. All right, and to serve with this soup, I have this wonderful rustic loaf. Cut off a slice here. Gonna take off that end. Get a slice out of the middle here for this. Is wonderful. I did not make this loaf. I purchased it. Someday perhaps I will work on mastering bread. I've made some edible loaves, but it's definitely not a skill that I have developed. And let's get some butter on here. Be a wonderful accompaniment for this classic soup. All right, this has been boiling away for about half an hour. I think we are ready to go. Just test the potato here, and yep, it's nice and tender. So at this point, this soup basically becomes a choose-your-own-adventure. You could choose hot soup or cold soup. For the hot soup, we just add some butter and then puree. For the cold soup, we puree and then cool it down and add a cup of cream and some chopped chives. That would be a vichyssoise. But I'm going to go with the hot soup, if that's how I like it. So, I have butter, have 3 tablespoons worth. Let's go ahead and get this added. That butter melting in there. A wonderful touch of richness to the soup. So the recipe calls for a puree. You really could eat it just like this. In the past, sometimes I've just mashed up some of these potatoes with like a masher, or a very kind of rustic vibe. But I am going to do a little bit of puree, maybe not the whole thing. Again, just give it some creamy texture. So I have an immersion blender. Cover your ears, it's gonna get really loud. Okay, we'll make sure to turn down this part. And we're just going to blend this up just a little bit. Okay, turn this heat down. This mixture really wants to bubble now. So yeah, nice and creamy. And that is really all there is to this soup. As I said, very simple. Just have a quick taste. Very good. Okay, so that is done. Gonna grab a bowl and a ladle and serve some up. Yes, absolutely lovely. All right, potato leek soup. All right, potato leek soup with bread. And let's add some of this wonderful topping to the soup. Wonderful. Now let us enjoy.